Good evening all. Now we are going to discuss the Unit 3 of Professional Ethics in Engineering. Our unit title is Engineering as Social Experiments. The syllabus of third unit is Engineering as Experimentation, Engineers as a Responsible Experimenter, Code of Ethics, a Balanced Outlook on Life. These are all the syllabus in Unit 3 of Engineering Ethics, Professional Ethics in Engineering, or Engineering as Social Experimentation unit. Now we move to the topic, what is engineering as experimentation? Before manufacturing a product or providing a project, we make several assumptions and trials, design and redesign, and test several times till the product is observed to be functioning satisfactorily. We try different materials and experiments. From the test data obtained, we make detailed design and pretest. Thus, design as well as engineering is interactive process as illustrated in figure. This is the flowchart of engineering experimentation. First one is design. Second one is fabrication, assembly, and physical test, simulation test, and all. Third one is to make prototype, pilot plan, model study. Fourth one is our project final design. Finally, manufacturing the project, and almost at the end, we are going to field study. So several redesigns are made upon the feedback information on the performance or failure in the field or in the factory. Besides the test, each engineering project is modified during execution based on the periodical feedback on the progress and the lessons from other sources. Hence, the development of the product or a project as well as a whole may be considered as an experiment. This is the definition, which is similar, the difference between the similarities and contrast. It is now compare the two activities and identify the similarities and contrast. First one is in similarities, partial ignorance. Second one is uncertainty. Third one is continuous monitoring. Fourth one is learning from the past. In contrast, first one is experimental control. Second one is human touch. Third one is informed consent. Fourth one is knowledge gain. These are all the difference between the contrast and similarities. So first one, partial ignorance in similarities. The project is usually executed in partial ignorance. Uncertainties exist in the moral assumed. The behavior of moral purchased is uncertain and not constant. That is certain. They may vary with the suppliers, process the law, time, and the process used in shaping the materials. Example, sheet or plate, rod or wire, foam or cast or welding. There may be a variations in the grade, structure, and it is results, failures. It is not possible to collect data on the all variations. In some cases, extrapolation, interpolation, assumptions of linear behavior over the range of parameters. Accelerating test simulations and virtual testing and restore. Second one is in similarities and certainty. The final outcomes of project are also uncertain as in experiment. Sometimes unintended results, side effects, byproducts, and unshaped operations have also appeared. Unexpected risks such as undue seepage in storage dam, leakage of nuclear radiation from an atomic power plant, presence of pesticides in the food or soft drinks bodies, a new irrigation canal separating waterborne disease, and an unsuspecting hair dryer causing lung cancer on the user from the asbestos gas used in the product have been reported. Now, continuous monitoring and similarities. Monitoring continuously the progress and gaining new knowledge are needed before, during, and after execution of project, as in the case of experimentation. Next, the performance is to be monitored even during the use or wrong use of the products by the end of user beneficiary. Fourth one is In similarity, learning from the past. Engineers normally learn from their own prior design and infer form of analysis of operation and design, and sometimes from the reports of other engineers, but this does not happen frequently. This absence of interest and channels of communication, ego in not seeking information, pity upon the failure, fear of legal actions, and mere negligence have caused many of failure. For example, the Titanic lacked sufficient number of lifeboats. It had only 820 boats for the actual passengers of 2,227. The capacity of the ship being 3,547. In the emergent situation, all the existing lifeboats could not be launched. 40 years back, another steamship's heretic met with the same tragedy due to. But the lesson was learned in the most of the hydraulic systems. Valves had been the critical components that are least reliable. The confusion on knowing whether the valve was open or closed was the cause of the 3 Mile Island accident in 1970. Similar manufacturing of valves and the misreading of gauges have been reported to have caused the accidents elsewhere in some power plants, but we have not learned the lesson from them. Now we discuss in detail about the contrast. First one is experimental control. In standard experiments, members per study are selected into two groups, namely A and B at random. Group A are given special treatment, and the group B is given no treatment and is called controlled group, but they are placed in the same environment as the group of A. The process is called experimental control. This practice is adopted in the field of medicine in engineering. This does not happen except when the project is confined to laboratory experiments. This is because it is the clients or consumers who choose the product, exercise the control. It is not possible to make a random selections of participants from various groups. In engineering, through random sampling, the survey is made. Second one is human touch. Engineering experiments involve human souls, their needs, views, expectations, and creative use, as in the case of social experiments. This point of view, it is not agreed by many of the engineers, but now the quality engineers and managers have fully realized this human aspect. Third one is informed consent. Engineering experimentation is viewed as social experiment since the subject and the beneficiary are human beings. In this respect, it is similar to medical experimentation on human beings. In the case of medical practice, moral and legal rights have been recognized while planning for experimentation. Informed consent is practiced in medical experimentation. Such a practice is not there in scientific laboratory experiments. Informed consents have two basic elements. First one is knowledge. The subject should be given all relevant information needed to make the decision to participate. Second one is volunteer. Subject should be part without force, fraud, or deception. Respect for rights or minority to dissent and compensation for harmful effect or assumed. Now, the last topic of contrast is knowledge building. Not much of new knowledge is developed in engineering experimentation. As in the case of scientific experiments in the laboratory, engineering experiments at the most help us to verify the adequacy of the design, to check the stability of the design parameters, and to prepare for the unexpected outcomes in the actual field environments. From the models tested in the laboratory to the pilot plant, tested in the field, there are differences in performance as well as their outcomes. So next, we will move to the topic that is engineers as responsible experimenters. Although although the engineers facilitate experiments, they are not alone in the field. Their responsibility is shared with the organization, people, government, and others. No doubt the engineers share a greater responsibility while monitoring the projects, identifying the risks, and informing the clients and the public with facts. Based on this, they can take decision to participate or test or promote. The engineer, as an experimenter, owns several responsibilities to the society. Namely, first one is a consensus commitment to live by moral values. Second one is a comprehensive perspective on relevant information. It includes consent, awareness of the progress of the experiment, and readiness to monitor the side effects of any. Third one is unrestricted free personal involvement in all steps of the product development, which means autonomy. So next, we will discuss what is moral autonomy. Viewing engineering as social experimentation and anticipating unknown consequences should promote an attribute of questioning about the adequacy of the existing economic and safety standards. This proves a greater sense of professional involvement in one's work. Accountability. The term accountability means the capacity to understand and act to moral reasons, willingness to submit one's actions to moral scrutiny and be responsive to the assessment of others. It includes being answerable for making specific obligation that is liable to justify or give reasonable excuses and decision, actions or means and outcomes sometimes unexpected. When recorded by the stakeholder or by law, the tough of war between a casual influence by the employer and moral responsibility is quite common in professions in the engineering practice. The problems are the fragmentation of work in the project inevitably makes the final products lie away from the immediate workplace and it lessens the personal responsibility of the employer. Next one is accountability. Further, the responsibility diffuse into the various hierarchies and to various people. Nobody gets the real feel of personal responsibility. Often, projects are executed one after another, and employees more interested in adherence of tight schedules rather than giving personal care for the current project. More litigation to be faced by the engineers, as in the case of medical practitioners. This makes them very wary of showing moral consent beyond what is prescribed by the institution. In spite of all these shortcomings, engineers are expected to face the risk and next one is code of ethics. The code of ethics is nothing but or exhibit right duties and obligations of the members and represents and the professional society. The code of exhibits the following essential rules. First one is inspiration and guidance. The code of express the collective commitment of the profession to ethical conduct and public good and thus inspire the individuals. They identify primary responsibilities and provide statement and guidelines on interpretations for the professional and professional societies. Support to the engineers is the third. Okay. So next class, a balanced law outlook on law is discussed. Thank you.